So hello, welcome to what is going to be a new series. It's a little bit messy at the moment with regards to times and things, as it's only 4 Thursdays left of the year for me. I am going to do this on a Thursday. Then in the new year it's going to switch to a Sunday. So as you may be aware, I released my honest review of Mythforged, and I'm a little bit mixed. I will admit I'm very mixed about it. But there's a couple of figures in there that are nice, and I just want to do a little bit of painting every now and again. Now the idea was originally that a company, whoever it is, sends me a random mystery mini a random mystery affordable mini every month, and I don't know what that will be. Like, I didn't know what this was going to be, and hopefully it's epic. Obviously some months it'll be something that I'm not interested in as much, but I think with regards to me personally, I don't think the Mythforged worked out that well. However, there is a little bit of an epic mini which I really like. It's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It will be. Hopefully it will. There's certain elements that I'm not so good at, and one of which is faces. Now this has got a cloth over its face, so I've got a bit of a get out clause. So this is the way it's going to work. Now I don't want to make you guys empty promises. I have looked at a couple of other subscription services, and I can probably afford them, but I don't want to make the commitment to that much money every month. So what I have managed to do is I've found a nice subscription service to a company that sells STLs. Now, for the benefit of you those of you that don't know what an STL file is, this started life as a computer design. Somebody sat down at the computer and designed this. Let's say CAD. It's not CAD, but you know, if you don't understand how miniatures are made, so they've made this on the computer, and then it's gone through to a different file which is cut this into sections, and then it's run through a 3D resin printer, and this is the result that you get. Obviously you get lots of supports that you have to remove, but you end up with this mini. Now I might not be talking accurate here. I've done a little bit of preliminary research. Cost of a 3D printer is around about 200, just over £200. You need to wash the minis, you need to cure the minis. All in all, it's about £400. Then you have bottles of resin, and then at first I thought I'd be buying lots of alcohol. However, I am going to be trying out a water washable resin, and then it works out that roughly one bottle of resin for about £15 to £20 will make a good £150 to £200 worth of minis. So I've decided to go down the 3D printer route. Now I've already subscribed to a subscription service which I'll talk about next month, and there are some absolutely epic minis, and I will be looking at painting some of them later on. So every month I will get a bunch of files. Now they are primarily designed for Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, but I'm a painter, not a player. I like interesting minis. I had the option of subscribing to fantasy or sci-fi, and also this company will allow you to buy bundles from others, like past bundles for example, and also sci-fi bundles. It's cheaper to subscribe, but if you just want the one-offs, it's really good, and there's some really good sci-fi ones in all fairness, but generally sci-fi, it's really not my cup of tea. So what I thought we'll do is we'll spend the next 4 weeks painting this. We'll take it nice and gently, we'll have a look at it, we'll paint it to what I'm going to call a tabletop standard. It's not going to be golden demon winning standard. It won't win any competitions, but hopefully it'll be a really nice mini. So what have I got for you? Well, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I know absolutely nothing about this. When this was sent to me by Mythforce, it was in a little bag, and you have to work out how to do it. It did come with like lots of little bits of spikes and things, and I can see from one of the arms, I don't know if this is the way it goes. Is it the arms? One of the arms might be this one. See, I don't even know. So one of the, I think it's this one. Yes, so there's some little tiny notches there. I don't know if you can see them. That might be where the spiky bits go. It would certainly follow, because there's one there. But I don't know. So I've decided I'm going to leave the spikes off. And what I could probably do, these little indents there, maybe we could just put a little bit of black or something in there to make it look like there was once a spike and it's been snapped off. The fit on this is not perfect, but I've already had a good look at it. So for example, the torso is going to go like that, and you can see it's quite gappy. Now actually that's not going to be a major problem, because what I can do, the torso, the legs do actually finish there. You can see he's got a loincloth on, and that loincloth folds up there, so anything above that loincloth is fur. So what I can do is I can put a bit of milliput in there, and I can just texture the filler so it just matches the texture of the fur, and then we'll paint over that. This arm fits rather well. I'll come back to this arm actually, because there's a problem with it. So this arm fits rather well. That will need a tiny bit of filler, but again the join line is on the fur, so the fur generally isn't so bad, because you can just kind of texture that and blend the paint in. This arm had a problem with it. Now the actual fit, as you can see, is actually almost perfect. Can you see it's a very small line, not cured, wasn't cleaned properly and then cured with excess resin, but this was quite lumpy. So what I've done is I've sanded it down just so it's smooth, just so it follows. I'm tempted to say I'm not going to worry about it, because as you can see it's underneath, so you may not see it so much, but you know, if anyone picks the mini up they will see it. Now the biggest problem I've got, and I can see why it's done like this, it's a two-handed axe, and an absolutely epic axe. Look at this. But you've got the handle. Now this piece of handle, because of the shape that they've done on the cut, it's absolutely brilliant fit, but you have to get these arms right so that it matches like that, and that's what it's going to look like when it's finished. I'm going to take it out because it will fall out. Now I'll probably pin that in place. Now most of this I'm going to paint before I assemble it. So once we've got this done, obviously we'll put the arms on, we'll blend the arms properly, and then I'll do the torso. I'll probably do the legs onto the base, and here's one of the spikes. So I think it should go on one of these. I might just put one spike on. So then once we've done that, we'll get these legs glued on, and then we can bring the two together, and then I can start blending the middle. And this is roughly what the mini is going to look like. And as you can see with my hand, now I've not got massive hands, I haven't got tiny hands. I'd say my hands are about average, but you can see it's not a tiny miniature. So I think this is going to be a fun project. The biggest issue I've got is planning the colours. So I keep seeing what I think is there were lots of support in there, and had I known that the best way to remove support is to dunk this in warm water, it would have probably saved me half an hour. So yes, the biggest problem I've got is the colour planning, because it's going to run the risk of being very dull. Now, he looks like he's judging by the henchman that he's with, he's some kind of, he looks like more of a horse, but a kind of a Beastman. So he's either going to have black or he's going to have grey fur. Grey fur is probably the safe, brown fur is probably the safe option. Any bits of cloth, do I go for the same colour both pieces of cloth, but I need to go for something quite drabby, so I'm thinking maybe a drab red or a drab, maybe a green. I quite like the idea of using a green. Now we've got this brown fur, but then the obvious choice for the shield is a brown, so we're going to end up with a brown attached to a brown. The bandages are going to be kind of an ivory colour, which is a shade of brown. Obviously the armour, the weapons are going to be silver. I can do something maybe with that. So I'm now then starting to think maybe the armour should be metallic, so maybe gold or brass armour. But again, that's kind of a brown, isn't it? So you know, I've got to be careful. When I normally paint a lot of chaos, I tend to do I like to do red armor, and then I like to do my demon skin red, and demons I tend to give them black armor, because obviously I don't want to give them too much red. I could go for red armor on this one, and I think that would look really nice. I would love to ask you guys, but by the time this video comes out, I will already have done I probably would have finished part 4. So the other reason I'm doing this, I forgot to mention at the beginning, I have recently bought some army painter paints. These are the washers. This is a random wash. This is one of the effect paints. This is a primer. I can't seem to find any of their, here we go. So this is the War Paints Fanatics range, and I'd really like to give them a try. Let me give them a bit of a zoom in. And one of the things I really like about these, this is one I was using for something else. So they give you 3 grouping systems. So first of all we have the name of the paint, and to a lot of people this may mean nothing. Now, opal skin, fine, most of us can understand what opal skin is, but you know, you might get something like Skaven brown. What's Skaven brown? You know what brown is, but what's Skaven? So what they then tend to do is they give you a more generic name, so you can see that this is a very light yellowish pink, so that kind of gives you an idea. But then they group them into what they call triads. Now, as far as I'm aware, the triad system was invented by Citadel. So you'll see there that you have a base, then you'll have a layer paint that goes with it, which will be slightly lighter, and then you'll have another layer which is slightly lighter still, and you use those 3 colours to make tones. Well, army painters pushed that to a set of 6, and what you then do is you select any 3. So if I wanted to use this as the main colour, what I would do, let me get something to point with. So you'll see that this is number 5 on the scale of rose skin tones. So this is that one there. Now you'll use this one to use your deeper recesses, and then you can use this one to use your highlights. You could use all of them. You could actually go from that one to that one. But what happens is, however you pick this set of 3, they will work together. So you could go 1 2 3, you could go 2 3 4, 3 4 5, you could go 1 3 5, you could go 2 2 4 6. Many combinations. So what that will enable us to do is we can actually take a similar brown but make it look different. So I could, for example, put if I got the brown the brown system that I use for the fur, I could, for example, use triad 1, 2 and 3 for the cloth, and then maybe use 3, 4 and 5 for the fur. Depends on how I want to do it. So now I tend to be a little bit dynamic, and by that I mean I'm sitting here thinking of my colour choices right now, but that may not be the colour choices I use when I come to actually finish painting it. But what I'm thinking of at the moment is we'll probably go for a black, we'll go for a black fur that's going to push into the browns for the highlights, and then we'll use the brown for the cloths. No, we'll use the greens for the cloths. So we'll use some, maybe something from the olive drab system. That will then enable us to use a nice woody brown for the shield, and I'm thinking I might go for a really dulled down red for the armor, and then we'll have a nice gold on the edges, and then maybe we'll go for silver spikes, and then we'll go for pinky on the feet because they'll come out quite. We'll go for pink, and then we'll dirty it up in the recesses. And then you've got some chains going along there, and then you've got these I don't know what you call them. I want to call them scrolls, but so they'll be kind of an ivory colour, and then obviously you'll have these, for the sake of argument I'm going to call them bandages, but they're wraps, and we've got some fur skin coming in there. So but I think what we'll do is we will give it a nice zenithal highlight. I think we can get away with a cool zenithal. I've got a feeling that the paints that I put on will cover the zenithal, but because there's not really much skin showing, I don't think there's going to be a need for a warm zenithal. So what I'll do next is I'll get this into the spray booth, and then we'll get it zenithal highlighted. And I think the first area we need to tackle is inside there. The only criticism I have of this model, you see you have this armor plate there, and it actually hides the fur there, but you can still access it. So when it comes to paint, I've got to paint downwards. It's the only way I can access it. So I think we'll have to focus on the fur there and the armor plate. So let's get in the spray booth. Okay, so I've decided to split this section of video into 3, black, grey and white, and so they may be different speeds depending on my voiceover. So the airbrush that I'm using today is the Galeri Jihad 68. It's a brand new airbrush. This is the very first time I've ever used it, and I've been using the Harder Steenbeck Ultra 2024, which I really do love. But the reason I'm using the Galeri today is I thought, being a trigger airbrush, it'd be a little bit more gentle on my hands, and because I'm only priming, at the end of the day I just want to chuck down paint, or primer in this case. So I thought, you know what, I can have the opportunity to just try out little lines on it, which should all get covered up. So yeah, it's just trying out the new airbrush, and spoiler, I do like it. After one use I'm okay with it. I definitely want to use it more. So I am laying down a layer of AK Interactive black primer, and what I want to do is do full coverage. Now some of the pieces I can't do all in one, because obviously I'm holding it, and then if I change my position, I'm having to hold a wet bit of primer. So for things like the arms, for example, what I've done is I primed half of the arm, popped it down, did another piece, then come back to it and finish it off. Really isn't an awful lot to it, just make sure it gets good coverage all over. Now one of the areas I did have was the head it was really hard to get that sprayed inside. I really would like to have that head to have done it been done in an extra piece. Maybe if there was some way of getting that armour piece on afterwards. But, you know, job got done, not a problem. Okay, so I've decided, normally I edit the cleaning of the airbrush out. I've decided to keep it in today just for a bit of fun. And the way I clean my airbrush out is that I clean the airbrush out, I tip out all the paint. I slosh in a couple of syringefuls of water, just slosh it out, put some more water in, maybe give it a bit of backflow. That's one of the things I do like about the Galeri, is the fact that you can do the backflow. The Ultra 2024 is designed for a beginner airbrusher for miniatures, and they've designed the front nozzle so that you can clean it easily. Unfortunately, it means you lose the ability to do that back flushing. Not the end of the world, but this Galeri, it's so much easier to mix paints. So, as I always do with the grey primer, I'm now hitting that all over at a 45-degree angle. Now, you should theoretically be coming in at a 45-degree angle from your light source. Because I'm using this to pick out details, I'm doing a 45 degrees from all angles. So you'll see I'm rotating the piece and spraying at 45 degrees. Make the piece do the work for you. Don't move the airbrush. Try and keep the airbrush in one position and move the piece. So I've done the leg second, because then I can base everything off the leg, so I can hold the torso up to the legs, and then I can see what kind of angle I need to spray it. And then once I've done the body, I can bring the arms up to the body and hold that arm in the position that I'm going to need it. And yeah, nothing, I mean, you've seen it on my other videos. I just spray at a 45-degree angle. So lastly, onto the white primer. In case I didn't mention it, previous step I used grey primer, AK Interactive. This time I'm using the AK Interactive white primer. Now I am having to thin it a bit. It's a tiny bit thick, which makes it really good for brush priming, which obviously I'm not doing in this situation. Now I don't know if I thinned it properly, or if there was a problem with it or something, I don't know. But we're hitting this from a 0-degree angle, but I found it going a little bit thin in places, and then suddenly it'll come through normal thickness. I suspect I didn't thin it properly. Now, this needs to be hit from the top angle, so I held my airbrush at about a 45-degree angle, and then held the piece at a 45-degree angle, and it kind of, that hits it from above. And I'm just being very careful to make sure I do hit that directly from above. I don't want to highlight too much. I certainly don't want to be highlighting underneath. And it's usual thing, just spray until it's all done. And yeah, I think the pieces looked okay when I finished. Okay, so now that I have zenithal highlighted them, let's have a look at what we've got. So the base, we can see there's lots of there's little bits of soil in there, and lots of stone. So I think what I'll do is I'll go over it with an earthy brown. We'll get some shade in there, and then we'll start to pick out all the rocks. And then I think I'll keep it simple. And what I'll do is I'll just stick a couple of random tufts of green, and we'll have a nice base, because I do believe that you can have the nicest model in the world, but if your base is awful, it's just going to ruin it. And then we'll just keep it nice and simple. We'll draw the attention up to the model, and we'll just keep the base black rim. I think that will do that. So looking at his face, I really look at that detail. That is just absolutely crying out for highlights. Now that we've got some zenithal on it, the detail on that is amazing. And I'm at risk of just pulling myself into my safety zone here, but I'm thinking, I really am liking the idea of blacks going into browns, so it'll be sort of a brown hitting towards the edge. for the fur. And I really am, if you look on this one for example, and this weapon, that is absolutely beautiful, but I think I'm going to keep the inside of that black, and I'm going to keep the decoration is going to be brass, and then the outside will be silver, and the armor, I think we'll go for red armor with brass. I'm very tempted. I think I want to go for a touch of green for that cloth. I would say maybe a light leather colour, sort of a chamois colour, but we have got these bits here, and now that I've highlighted it, can you see the detail in those the runes or whatever they are on there? And I really like that. The wood on the shield is extremely well detailed. There was a couple of bits of support that I found that I missed. That's always going to show that up when you do the zenithal. Yeah, cloth I think is going to be green, and then we've got a leather belt there, so that's going to be brown, and then armor plates red with gold bits, and then we've got little straps. I think actually it's quite a simple model. There's not too much going on. Obviously we'll finish it off with the claws. What do you think, guys? So I think I'm going to finish this video here, and then I'll actually work on the next video in a few days, so give me a chance to change your mind. I may well change my mind quite a few times, but that's the colours that I'm thinking of going for. The big question is, which bit do we go for next? I want to work on the head first, but equally I think we can get the base going quite quickly, and once we get that arranged, I need to figure out which. I think it's going to go that way, so we probably want to put more tufts at the front and just one or two at the back, and yeah, I think we can make something of that. So yeah guys, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is going to be the format that I'm looking at. Video 1 will be actually I think we'll do the base next. So video 1 will be looking at the model, giving it a highlight, pulling out all those details. I meant to show you this as well, look, now they've got the highlights on, even this, look, the tension, it's just a stick, but the detail on there is brilliant. So yeah, there doesn't seem to be too much detail that I'm discovering as I go, but yeah, we'll probably focus on the base next week, and possibly make a start on the head, and then maybe we'll get all the base coats down, and then decide if we do actually like the colour scheme that I've gone for, and then we can start to put the highlights on to finish. So like I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll catch you next week. Bye bye.